What up, folks? My bad, here I'm coming, y'all. My bad. My bad. What's happening, folks coming up in here? It was that Chief Ryan. What's happening, man? What up, crew, right? Alright, man. We just getting started. We about to go into this shit here. So you got some heat with the music? Alright, I'm gonna have to check you out. Hey, man. You talking to a person who used to be a fellow producer back in the day. I don't really do it too much now. But I do have a keyboard still, machine drum pad. I ended up buying the whole Native Instruments suite some time ago. So that's one thing I do like. When you buy that software, you pretty much forced to keep it compared to keyboards. Like I used to buy like Yamaha Motif. I used to have that. I be doing something different, man. Of many talents. Yeah, man. I bet, man. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, back in the day, I'd have like a Yamaha Motif or something, and I had to pay payments on that bitch. I couldn't afford it. But there's a website, if you don't know, called AmericanMusical.com, AMS, AmericanMusical.com. You know, this goes for anybody. If you are like a budding person in the music game and you trying to get a bunch of equipment and your credit ain't all the way straight, you know what I'm saying? They got payment plans for like three to five payments. They call them easy payments. They don't charge they don't check credit or nothing. And they also don't really charge interest like that, which is also good. It's like basically paying something off in 90 days to 6 months or whatever it is. And you can get whatever you want, man, almost in the music realm. So back then I had got a keyboard, I had got several keyboards, DJ equipment, all kind of stuff, microphone setups, and everything else, man. So yeah, you should check it out, man. Especially you crew, right? If you out there, not if, but since you out there in the music thing, man, to come up on some equipment without having to come off a lot of money. You know, let's say if you're trying to get a real nice microphone that costs like $600, you know, to really go hard, to really go big or whatever, then you can, you know, pay that bitch in like $100 payments. You know what I'm saying? $600 payments is easier on you than $600, to be honest. You know, so I'm always down for little payments and stuff like that. I used to do all kind. I'm always good at like finding shit, man. I used to do that. We're gonna get into this, but I used to do that, and I used to get stuff from like them home shopping networks. That's where I got one of my first cameras from. I was like, oh, you gonna let a nigga pay payments and you ain't gonna check a nigga credit? Okay. Well, let me get what you got. Let me see what kind of electronics you got. And I got my first Canon T5, no T3i. I don't even think it was in the Canon. No, it was a Rebel. It was called the Canon Rebel XS. What's up, Monet? It was called the Canon Rebel XS or whatever, and I got that thing on payments. So like, man, whenever you get stuff on payments, man, especially, and these are all things that you can make money off of too. You know, you can make money off of making beats. You can make money off of having a camera and stuff like that. So, man, look, I'm always about finding them deals. But we're gonna talk about this today because, man, I've been going over this a lot. Let me spark this up, y'all. We're gonna really deep dive. We're gonna deep dive for about 2 hours. I got an appointment at 12, and then when I get back, we might deep dive even more. Well, yeah, when I get back, I still gotta go. I want to go buy my parents some last minute Christmas gifts. I don't really do Christmas like that, but I'm about to go do some last minute shopping for a couple people. What's up, Mingo? So we about to really get into this Dred Scott situation. So let's just refresh people's brains on what people typically say about this Dred Scott case. That right here is an amazing newspaper clipping. Look at how many colors I got in points. When we get to this newspaper clipping, okay, all right. So let's listen to what some of the public sentiment is about the Dred Scott case already.
They argue that the 14th Amendment that gives everyone equal protection under the law outlawed Dred Scott in principle, but it never did it in fact. So the Dred Scott...
You said Judge Taney was a third generation immigrant. I believe it. And in fact, just to get on your point there, since we are already somewhat there, let's see. Open court. See if I can find it real fast. Assertion that the judge confounded very different qualities of citizen versus elector. When we get to the whole thing about what is a citizen versus what an elector is, oh, that's gonna be explosive. That's gonna be explosive. Okay, oh man, y'all don't even understand. When we talk about temporary military reservations, and one of the Indian people, one of the Indian agents that was in this supposed military reservation, which was an Indian agent, which was a part of the War Department, right there, the War Department, the same War Department that becomes the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Man, what I'm telling you, when we get to some of these things, y'all not gonna be ready, man. Y'all ain't gonna be ready. The chief ground was. I want to find what she was just saying about though. Okay, look. This is it right here. So she was talking about Judge Taney being a third immigrant. Now I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that, but I want to read this. We're just gonna read this, and then we'll get back into what we're gonna do. But like she was saying, he was a third generation immigrant, right? Let's start here. It says, the Supreme Court of the United States had, under that great jurist John Marshall, won a high place in the esteem of the people of the country, and all Americans were disposed to accept its decisions as the final word upon subject. So this, prior to this, and what this is saying is, hey, at this particular time, what they're talking about, this is in 1909, so they're talking about previous times. But at this particular time, the court was esteemed very highly amongst the public, right? Then it says this in blue. During the decade before the war, 10 years before the Civil War, however, the Supreme Court had deteriorated greatly in the character and legal attainments of its members. There was not a man of the court on the court who was held in high esteem as a lawyer or jurist. They were just talking about the great jurist John Marshall. being held in high esteem. They're saying, and then when you get to here, 10 years before that Civil War, all of a sudden the whole court system is being changed up. And they say you can't find neither a lawyer or a jurist on here. So let's say what they say. And nearly, if not all the members were politicians, not lawyers, not jurists. And why is that important? Because politicians don't really go to school to learn law. They go to be politicians. Why would you want a politician trying to decide the verbiage in a law? All right. But it says, whom Jackson appointed. Oh, Jackson appointed these people in reward for the partisan subserviency. They were politicians rather than lawyers, and so regarded by the legal fraternity. Notice right here in green, where we're about to get in, what she was just saying. At their head was Chief Justice Taney. I know it looks like Taney, but it's Taney, well, like a W, like black, of Maryland, who had received his appointment from Jackson as a reward for removing the deposits after Jackson's secretary of the treasurer had refused to do so and resigned. So yeah, your boy was as you say, I didn't know, and I can understand, I can believe it. He was a third generation immigrant, which went in there and removed the deposits, whatever that is, from something that the treasurer wouldn't do. And Jackson said, appreciate that. Let me make you a Chief Justice. Let me make you Chief Justice. Just Tiny family was a banking family in Europe. Wow, okay. Daddy, who's that? Niecy, I was about to say, I'm trying to figure out what I'm like, wait a minute, that's damn. So, yeah, Niecy's on point with it. You must have looked into this quite a bit. What's up, Tabitha? Okay, I gotta see. Yeah, you must have looked into this quite a bit. So, according to this, not only was Judge Taney appointed, he was appointed in the court that had deteriorated during the 10 years before the Civil War. Why would you be changing? Y'all don't understand how explosive this is. Why would you be changing up the Supreme Court 10 years before the Civil War? Well, what's another thing they do 10 years before the war? They start writing things like rewriting slave laws, right? The slavery law of 1860, of the slave code of 1860. I don't want to say that they wrote it, but it was probably highly influenced, not only that the fact that the Supreme Court had deteriorated, but if the Supreme Court deteriorated, I can almost guarantee you lots of other things deteriorated, right? Lots of other positions deteriorated. They prepping. Exactly. Y'all getting it? What up, International House? So yeah, y'all getting it. They prepping it, and as you're starting to think about it in more of modern terms today, they be yelling about today. Oh, they wanna change the judges. They want to get in there. The president wants to put all their judges in and blah blah blah. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. So, there's so many things here that I got for y'all, man. Nuggets, things. Be ready to screenshot, spread the word, whatever, especially when we get to this. But let's get, just to kind of go in real quick. Gerrymander. Excuse me. Ouch. Excuse me. Okay. Gerrymandering. Now you got me wondering what that is. Let me look that up, because I've heard that term all the time. But you know what? I've never looked up what the hell that is. Which is probably what you just, or what a term comes from. The manipulation of the electoral constituencies boundaries so as to favor one party. Oh, so that's It's redistricting. Okay, that's more like the redistricting, but I get what you're saying. This will be a little slightly different, but in a sense, understandably similar. Like this one more so is actually electing people directly who's going to sit on those offices, and and you could put anybody in there, and they just putting their own folks in there. This is more so messing with the boundaries, which in a sense does mess with the people who get elected, right? Because you mess with the boundaries, you include a lot more people in so many whatevers, and that particular representative can get elected based upon whatever, But I can understand that. Definitely understand that. So, like, okay, let's get into this. All right, now first of all, I wanted to show y'all that after I'm glad I did this last versus first, but I went and actually I had to realize that I need to pull up the actual case. And luckily, this is the actual case from the records. Now, I had got this from the National Archive Records website. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because, everybody's talking about the case. But I keep seeing conflicting things in the newspapers about what people are saying. And then I hear conflicting things in the videos about what people are saying. So ultimately, y'all know what you got to do. You got to go back to the primary source if you want to know what the hell was going on. Now, one thing that's funny, one of these people try to say that it was a lot of transcripts and stuff. Now, unless it's somewhere else, this was 40 images. The other ones wasn't that many images either. So I don't know what the hell they read, but let's get an idea first on what the sentiment is around this case.
Overturned. They argue that the 14th Amendment that gives everyone equal protection under the law outlawed Dred Scott in principle, but it never did it in fact. So the Dred Scott case, 1857, I believe it was. Dred Scott was an enslaved African who was transported into a free state, if memory serves me correctly. And since he was in a free state, he sued for the right to be free. And Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger Taney ruled that the black man has no rights that a white man are bound to respect, that you are not a U.S. citizen, nor could you ever be considered so. And I'm going to be honest with you. From the U.S. constitutional framework, Roger Taney's decision, although controversial and an absolute.
Like, when you listen to him, when he says from a U.S. constitutional framework, do you think he's ever read the Constitution directly, the actual paper? I have. Some of it. I ain't read the whole thing. I pulled it up. I need to finish reading the whole thing. But I hate when people say this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? When you throw, because not that long ago, I was just telling somebody that on a video, on a post on Twitter that this lady Juicy Genius made. She was like, we are constitutionally recognized as freedmen. And so I pulled up the Constitution word for word transcript, and I typed Control F and put the word freedman in there, and it wasn't in there. So I was like, how could you be constitutionally something that's not in the Constitution? Okay, so these people just really just be ranting and going, but let's let them finish. It ain't really about the Constitution.
Disgrace and disrespect to black folks from a U.S. constitutional standpoint, from what those devils wrote in the Constitution, he was correct. Because what do we know about constitutional law? First of all, the Supreme Court only reviews what? Constitutional law cases. Y'all know that. Yeah. If you ever try to go to the Supreme Court with a case that doesn't deal with constitutional law, they kick it back to the state. Yeah. It's not up here. According to constitutional law, any law ever created in America, any law that contradicts the intent of the founding fathers when they wrote the Constitution is automatically illegal. So the question you got to ask yourself, when Jefferson and Adams and Washington and Franklin ever overturned, it's automatically illegal. So the question you got to ask yourself, when Jefferson and Adams and Washington and Franklin and Madison sat down and wrote that Constitution, did they ever intend for black people to
Thank you for supporting. Gotta be me. I always appreciate y'all.
be equal? I think everybody in this room knows that answer. And because of that, that's why the Dred Scott case has never been overturned. You are not, nor could you ever be. As Malcolm X said, if you're an American citizen, what the hell you need a civil rights bill for? That's already guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. What you need a Voting Rights Act for? You got the right to vote with the 15th Amendment in the 1860s. Why they coming up with
right to vote? But we're gonna get into it. We think we know what a citizen is, and last live stream, I got into it with somebody that was like Nehetiru or whatever their name was, and they was yelling all through the chat talking about we can't be citizens, but citizen meant you're a free person on the land, inhabitant of the land. So it didn't say that a citizen was a governing body. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because when we get to what I was showing y'all, where it said about right here, citizen and elector. Let me just read it to you. The Chief Justice confounded thus the very different qualities of citizen and elector. Now, prior to this, it says the assertion that Negroes had never been regarded as citizens was a contradiction of well-known history. We'll have to go to the page before, which... Where's it at? This ain't... Assertion... Huh. I wonder why it didn't go to the one right before it. I wonder did I not screenshot it. I'll go back and get it though. But long story short, what they were saying is that the Chief Justice confounded thus the very different qualities of a citizen and an elector. So what is a citizen versus what is an elector? Okay? Because what they'll try to say is that a black man is not a citizen because he doesn't, is what they're trying to say is because he doesn't have the right to be electing people in a sense. But that's not what a citizen is. First time I ever even thought about it. They say that they're confounding the different qualities of what a citizen and an elector are. Now, I didn't know. Now, let's again first look at what citizen is, okay? What is citizen in the law dictionary? In the law dictionary, where the hell is it? Where you at? It's got to be one of these. I'm just skimming too fast. Okay. Negro is going to be over here. Black, slave, emancipate. Really, black. Color, in, slavery, slave, service, servant. God dang. Or did I screenshot? I think maybe I had to pull it up live because I didn't screenshot it. Phrases. Really though? Elector. Well, get back to the elector. I don't want to show you elector yet. I guess I'm going to have to pull up the damn... I guess I didn't screenshot it. I guess I didn't. Ain't that a bitch? Okay, let's pull it up here. And make sure I get the screenshot this time. Looks like I already got the law dictionary up. Hallelujah. Citizen, hit the C's fast. What is a citizen and what is an elector? Anybody know? Or rather, he admitted he came from Africa. Hold on, let me see what you said. What's up, Michi Rose? Anybody? You said, or rather, he admitted that he came from Africa. That is a big part of the case. But what's crazy is, I don't know what that excuse me, y'all. That part had to just kind of be ushered in purposely about the African thing, and we'll get into why I say that. Because the case that was put forth is completely different than what they explain what the case is. They'll say he's suing for his freedom, but technically he's suing for something else. And I didn't know. I had no clue until I actually read the actual case. And as soon as I started reading the case, I said, you know what, man? That's exactly what happens in real life right now They like people. Nobody reads the case. Everybody hears the headlines and the story or whatever, and then you go read the case, like the Diddy case or something. I don't know, and then you go see it's completely different from what everybody said. You know what I'm saying? To a degree, or to a degree different. So let's see. Let's see. What's up, Tabitha J? What you say? Oh, he said who? Oh, we're talking about the Dred Scott case. Yeah. But right now we're gonna look at just real quick what is a citizen versus what is a elector. Okay, now I forgot that it's gonna say something here compared to what's in the actual dictionary. Let me see if I can pull up my dictionary version of it. Citizen. See if I got one. Damn, I would have thought I would have screenshot that, man. But I guess I didn't. That's really tripping me out. What I do want to show it in the dictionary real quick. We'll go to the 1828 dictionary. What a citizen is. All right, right here. Let's get to the C's. That was pretty quick. C-I-T-I, where's C-I-T-I-Z, C-I-T-I, citizen right there. All right. So you got, it says here, citizen, citizen, whatever, Spanish, whatever, Portuguese, whatever, from it, whatever. See, the native of a city or an inhabitant who, let me just do that. Let's go up. Enjoys the freedom, enjoys the freedom and privileges of the city in which he resides, the free man of a city as distinguished from a foreigner or one not entitled to its franchises. A townsman, a man of trade, not a gentleman, an inhabitant. Really, that one I just read was kind of added. If and we may look at an older dictionary. These were the definitions before this 1828. It would just say an inhabitant, a dweller in a city, town, or place. That's what a citizen was prior. Also was a townsman, a man of trade, not a gentleman. I remember seeing that as well. In a general sense, a native or permanent resident of a city or country, as the citizens of London or Philadelphia. Notice it's starting to add that in, right? And in the United States, a person of native naturalized who has the privileges of exercising the elective franchise or the qualifications which enable him to vote for rulers and to purchase and hold real estate. Now, this was added. So this is 1828. Let's go to a little bit before. Let's do the 1797 dictionary. This might start in the late letters. Yeah, this starts in the I's. Let's do... that was 1797. Let's do the 1757, whatever. Oh, this English to Swedish, my bad. Let's do this 1800. I'm gonna look for citizen. This is 1800, but it's starting in the late part. Long story short, y'all seen it. It was. I wanted to just show you where it said just that. Y'all know that's typically how I am. I like to show her. This might be the second part of 1797. Yeah, here we go. So this 1797 dictionary. HI. CIT, citizen, right here. Okay. A freeman of a city, a townsman. Let me screenshot it again. Hold on. Not again, because I guess apparently I didn't do it the first time. A townsman, not a gentleman, an inhabitant. Again, we always got to look at when definitions change, because you always got to ask why. Why did you change it? And when you ask why, typically it has to be something in the public atmosphere that likely made it change. Meaning, like, kind of like how we come up with new words. Like, we'll say on fleek or something, right? And I don't know, fleek might have been a word before that. I don't know. I have to look into it. But if it wasn't, or even if it was, we've created a new phrase or a new meaning for that word, right? And eventually, after so many people keep saying this fucking word, somebody who makes a dictionary be like, man, let's throw that in there. In the public atmosphere, this is what this means. It's either that, which that makes the most sense, right? Or somebody put it in the book for some reason. And why? Why change it? Why would citizen change from being a free man of a city, a townsman, not a gentleman? Now let's look at what a city is. Just, for shits and giggles. Because that could be, okay, well, that makes you whatever, right? But no, a city is a large collection of houses and inhabitants. Let's screenshot that. Citizen. Now that I think about it, ain't that a bitch? It's in the word. Citizen. Okay? If you take, really the word city is right there with the I. Just turn it into a Y. In fact, they call it Citibank, right? And they spell it that way. Ain't that a bitch? Sometimes you don't even notice the words is there and they connect like that. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all might have. I didn't. You would think you create new rules to keep some out. Prevention. And in many cases, if they're doing that, that's what they're doing. And it's, you got to ask, well, what are they trying to keep out? Or what are they trying to change? Who are they trying to keep out? Or what are they trying to get you into or out of? So what's a gentleman? Good question. I need to look into that. We can look at that in the, I was thinking that, like, not a gentleman. What does that got to do with a citizen? I was thinking that too. So you're on the right thinking path. And I never did look it up. All electors must be citizens, but not all citizens are electors. All electors must be citizens, but not all citizens. That's a great phrase, Michi. In fact, when we get to the whole definition of between citizen and elector in the book, is going to really make you think. So a city is a large collection of houses and inhabitants. A town corporate that hath a bishop, the inhabitants of a city. So now I'm like, a town corporate that hath a bishop, the inhabitants of a city. So I will want to look up in here what is corporate and what is a bishop in here, just to double check what we believe, right? But a citizen is a free man of a large collection of houses and an inhabitant of a corporate place that hath a bishop, or the inhabitants of a city. So let's go to what a corporate is, since we're in the C's, and then I might look up bishop. And then we're going to look up a gentleman. Corporate. Should be coming up. LMNOPQR. COR. Where you at? Okay, corporate, right here. United in a body or community. So, okay, we would think, I ain't never heard it in this way. United in a body or community. So we almost thought it meant, we thought it meant, a corporation like the United States or the state of such and such setting up a corporation, but that's a corporation. A corporation, which right here says a body politic. Now notice the difference. A corporate is a body or community. A corporation is a body politic. Now we have to look up what is a politic, right? just to make sure we know what a politic is. But as of right now, corporate, let me screenshot that, doesn't exactly mean what we might think. It is just a united. It's just united in a body or community. So if we read the definition again, a citizen is a free inhabitant of a city, which is a large dwelling of homes, or with a corporate, which is just a body of community, or united in a body of community, a bunch of people united in that community, in that body of homes, in that city. So far, nothing has said you need to be incorporated with a president and a body of and a board of members and this and that and the third, right? That's what we almost thought. Now we gonna look up bishop, but let's say corporation. Oh, politic. Bishop, politic, and corporations. Don't let me forget that. Bishop, politics, and corporation. We'll go to bishop. We already did corporation. My bad. Corporation was there. Bishop, politic. Let's go to bishop. See, this is how you're supposed to learn in school. They don't do this shit. They waste a motherfucking time, to be honest. Even in college, they don't even do this shit that I know of. Waste a nigga time. Bishop. At least I don't remember getting this deep. BIS. Maybe that's what maybe I chose some bullshit ass. Here we go. Bullshit ass major. Bishop. One of the head order of the clergy, a cant word for a mixture of wine, grapes, oranges, and sugar. So notice that's different. One of the head order of a clergy. All right, let's look at what a clergy is. From one thing to the next, right? What's a clergy? A body of people, right? So he's the head of likely just a body of people, but what is it different? Let's just double check. And really, it just seems like he's just the head of the people in that city, in that state. Clergy. Clergy. The body of men set apart by due ordination for the service of God. Ordination. So let me just look up ordination in public, and I'm gonna have to get the other one up for that one real quick. I had to do that anyway for public. 1797. Ordination in public. And gentlemen, don't let me forget gentlemen. Ordination in public. Let's see, LMNOP. Public ordination. Public PU. Where you at? I didn't screenshot that. I should have screenshot that. Oh, I can still do it. Hold on. Clergy. There you go. What the hell was I looking at? Public and ordination. Okay, public and ordination. Let's see, man. Public. From one thing to the next. Public. Belonging to a state or nation. So the head of a person the person who is at the head of a state or nation, apparently, open, notorious, generally known, general done by many, regarding not private interests, but good of the community, open for general entertainment. Hold up, no. My bad, y'all. People are weird. All right. Also public, the general body of mankind. So this might, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be the state of, is it going to be this one or this one? The state belonging to a state or nation, or the general body of mankind, or of the state or nation, open view, general notice. Either way, it's a person that's at the head of one of these. Nothing talks about having to have. It said people who are specially ordinations. So let's look at the ordination thing real quick. But mostly just people at the head of. It's kind of what we know it to be, but not completely what we think it to be. Ordination, and then we're gonna get to gentlemen. Then we'll move on past this. Ordination. Let me just make sure I'm spelling this shit right. Ordination, yeah. Ordinate. Okay, so to ordinate, ordinarily, ordinance. Okay, I was just double checking all the other words prior to it. All right, to ordinate, to appoint. Oh, so just to appoint. So people who are appointed. Okay, which is like, is and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like some special wording in there about there being some kind of voting council of officers, of a president, a vice president, or whatever. No, it's just technically it's just some people who in a public, they come together, a bunch of free people in a city of a body of houses come together, and they ordain or elect certain people that they think is cool. Be like, hey, you fuck with us, we'll put you at the top, and those are your people who are there. So I mean, those are your bishops. My bad. Those would be who your bishops are. Well, what was called the bishop then, which is what is called a president and shit now, right? And what was the last? Ordinary, public, and gentleman. Let me get on that gentleman for the folks. Now, if they change it after this, that don't mean. It's like, it's fine you change it and, think people are held to what you changed, but that doesn't mean that the history ain't what history was. And in fact, it really just it shows the malice that y'all had. I don't care if we're bound to it or not. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm going the wrong way. H. All right, gentleman. Same dictionary, same year, 1797. Gentle. Because it said not a gentleman. Here we go. So what is a gentleman? Now, we would think it's a man that would open the door and, give you flowers and shit, But what is a gentleman? A man of birth, a man of extraction, though not noble, a man raised above the vulgar by his character or post, a term of compliance, the servant. Oh, shit. Oh. Because if you're a citizen, you're a free person, meaning you can't be a servant. A servant is not a citizen. And also think about that. Well, yeah, a servant is not supposed to, but it says a man of extraction, though not noble, a man raised above the vulgar by his character or post, a term of compliance. Let's hit the next page to see if it continues. Giant ship. No, it doesn't continue. But a gentleman is completely different from what we thought it was. But the fact that it says the servant, that lets me know that that's why they say not a gentleman, because a servant or a slave or anybody in a capacity that is not free is not a citizen, which makes sense. Even though right now we think citizens aren't completely technically free, because people start saying, well, I'm a sovereign citizen. And I'm even more, but really saying sovereign during this time meant that you had dominion over people like a king. So does everybody have dominion over everybody like a king? Or really you just saying I'm a king and I have dominion over my own life and nobody has jurisdiction over me? And that's kind of fine to a degree, but as a public, when we come together in a dwelling full of houses, as we talking about using their terms, we would elect to have some type of order. Yes, if you're gonna go around here graping or unaliving folks or causing havoc or whatever, then your citizenship of being a free person now should be demoted down to that of a servant or a gentleman of something different. I don't think you get demoted to be a gentleman. I was just trying to use that now since I learned the word. But you be demoted down to something. Is that the best you got? Nobody? You see what's crazy is we're talking politics, but you're so worried that we're talking about you and we're taking over your people and that you gotta control us even though we're talking about politics. I'm the real Indian. I'm a blah 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 black Indian. I'm gonna do that. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Cause you know what? You're sitting around on the Indian reservation, which is really a military reservation from the War Department. You know what I'm saying? So you're really prisoners of war, technically, still. Many of y'all, or y'all was just, pretty much under supervision of the government. It is what it is. But, that's what y'all do. You ain't got nothing else to do, other than getting your little rations, eating your little ramen noodles and shit, because you ain't got no money. Y'all ain't got no real money. Some of y'all, the only ones that got real money are the Cherokees on the East Band and the goddamn Seminoles. Most of y'all pretty much, and the Seminoles getting that money off the motherfucking Hard Rock Casino Cafe money. That's their franchise. That's their business. You know what I'm saying? So the rest of y'all, I don't know what the hell y'all doing. Y'all ain't getting shit. So that's why y'all got plenty of time to sit around, be drinking Bud Ice and trolling us as we talking about something that has nothing to do with Indians, but we're Indians. So everything we talk about has to do with Indians. So I can understand how you felt that way. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got shit else to say. They never do they? After you start replying to them, after I start replying, they ain't got shit to say. They just sit here and listen because I'm going to keep going and going, Nick. I don't even know if you're in here anymore. Let me look at this list and see. Oh, you still in here? Well, you a dumb motherfucker to still be in here trying to sit here and type on the motherfucking screen and you don't even know. You probably done started off typing and deleted that shit multiple times because you look like an idiot. Yeah, I'm talking directly to you, motherfucker. And you know I'm talking to you. At this point, you looking at the screen like, is this nigga talking to me? Yeah, you know I've been talking to you. All right, let me get off of them. Stupid ass niggas. But a lot of them are here in Oklahoma. Yeah, and I'm from Oklahoma. And yeah, they broke as hell. Most of them. Now, some of them, if you live down actually on the actual, like down there in Love County on Chickasaw Land or whatever, and you buy that casino, yeah, there's some of them people on there making a little bit of that casino money, but most of them broke as hell. Especially the ones in the city, like in Oklahoma City itself, they just look like everyday Southside Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh man, they're the same motherfuckers, man. Seminoles and Cherokees are broke compared to us. Who's us? Broke compared to whoever the hell. Seminoles and Cherokee, I'll take care of you. What are you gonna take care of? Please tell me. Please tell me what you're gonna do. I mean, please tell me what I should be afraid of from a native. I don't even fuck if you was a chief of a fucking tribe that somehow federally recognized today. What your stupid ass gonna do? Huh? He's over here reading the dictionary. It's detrimental to my history. If reading the dictionary and going over law and national government documents is detrimental to your history, where you got to get in here and act like you gonna get something. We gonna handle him for reading those government documents. Stupid ass nigga. I take care of your pussy. Oh, now we know what time you on, for real. I mean, you did say what time you was on earlier, so I understand, man. Look, you did not click on the Hinge app. You clicked on the TikTok app, okay? Now I'm just about to block you because you keep going on and on. And I want to get back to this because I really got some shit and I got to go somewhere at 12. So I'm just going to block you. Yeah, I don't want to stay on him too long. Plus, they ain't talking about shit, to be honest. Oh, I'll take care of your butt. See, these people are weird. So, okay. So, a gentleman, as we can see, right? That's what a gentleman is. And I think I looked up everything else. So, now we kind of have an idea on terms. Now, let's look up the main thing I wanted to look up is now in a law dictionary. What is a citizen versus an elector? You know what? I didn't look up what an elector was in the dictionary. Let's try that real quick. I did look it up in the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I did look it up in the law dictionary, so I know what they say, but I think it's good to have a good grasp of both, because one is going to tell you what the public is saying. The other one's going to tell you what the lawyers are saying. And typically the lawyers should be mostly basing that shit off of what the public is, but, you know, hey, you never know what the hell a motherfucker do. Right, we're in the E's. Elector. I was like, what am I looking for? E-L. Like the gods. You know what? Y'all know that I have a whole new love for my whole name. You said, what dictionary is this? There you go. You can screenshot it. 1797 dictionary. I have a whole new appreciation for my whole name. Because those who know that E-L-L, like Elohim, which is multiple gods, L is God, or is a God. Elohim is multiple gods. You're welcome. And so my first name, Samuel L, ends with L, E-L, right? Last name, real last name, Battle, ends with L, just L-E the other way around, but it's still pronounced L, Battle, right? So your boy has a double L in this bitch, okay? I'm just playing. Grand Rising, the God. Michelle, yeah, Michelle L. Yes, hey, there you go. You a damn sure an L. You a God. Your name ends with L. Michelle, Samuel, Danielle, Daniel, yep, Danielle, Daniel. I ain't think, but start imagining that. How many names do have that in there? You know what I'm saying? My middle name is Nathaniel. There you go. You know what I'm saying? Got the Nathaniel. Hey, look, y'all gonna really start coming up with the name. What all names got L in it, man? I'm telling y'all, man. We some L's for real. Rochelle. Oh, shit. Rochelle. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man. Well, look, it's something crazy to think about, but we are them guys. Y'all already know. Even our last name has meaning. Exactly. And I want to start like maybe finding some way to break down some of these names. It really is. It really is. Oh, my bad. We was looking for elector. Yeah, no, it really is. I got a whole new appreciation for the name. Elective, elect, election. So, okay, elector. That was, okay. Elector. He that has a vote in the choice of any officer, a prince, and then there's another one, a prince who has a voice in the choice of the German emperor. So that's another one. But he that has a vote in the choice of any officer. Okay? We could look at what officer is, which you know I kind of want to. You know I want to. I know I'm wasting your time a little bit, but let's look up what we think we know, right? We're already in the O, so it ain't going to take but a second. Officer. Come on now. All right now, for real. O-F, officer. We already right here. Didn't take but a second. Officer. So a person who can be elected officer, vote for an officer. A man employed by the public. A commander in the army, that's a second definition, a commander in the army, or one who has the power of apprehending criminals. But what we're talking about in our situation is a man employed by the public. Again, not talking about a whole full body. These are real simple, normal terms, okay? So now we know an officer, whatever, we know whatever. So an elector has to do with that. That's your normal. Now let's look at it in a law dictionary from 1862. Why 1862 law dictionary? Because we're talking about the Dred Scott case of 1857. We want to see what was some of the terms in a law dictionary during that time, not later on. All right. So here's citizen. And why is that? Because they wouldn't have had access to later on library books, whatever, right? In 1857, they wouldn't have Black's Law Dictionary that came out in 1891, right? So let's say this. Citizen, person, one who, under the Constitution and laws of the United States, has a right to vote for representatives in Congress and other public officers, and who is qualified to fill offices in the gift of the people in a more extended sense. Under the word citizen are included all white persons born in the United States and naturalized persons born out of the same, who have not lost their right as much. This includes men, women, and children. Number 2, citizens are either native born or naturalized. Native citizens may fill any office. Naturalized citizens may be elected or appointed to any office under the Constitution of the United States, except the office of the president and vice president. The Constitution provides that the citizen of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of several states. Now, what I want to do real quick is see if we do have a law book in the 1790s. Why? Because remember, some of these things are going to change a bit, right? And I want to go double check. What is a law? Let me see if I can find one real fast. Archive. Law dictionary. Law dictionary, we're going to look easily in the years, between the years we're looking for. We can do a little bit after 1797 because we wouldn't know the year. We'll do like 1813, 1820-ish, and we'll do anything prior from 1682 and on. Let's apply any law books. Have I clicked on any of these yet? No, I haven't. So let's see what we can find. 1797, the law dictionary. A new law dictionary, 1772. Let's do the 1797. Let's see. It's 2 volumes, so that means it should be pretty big. All right. Let's look for citizen. So we're going to compare citizen from the 1797 law dictionary to the 1860 law dictionary. Why not? All right, let's see. Where's citizen at? Church, city, C-I-T-Y. Wish that would be good to look into too, but civil law. Citizens of London. Hold on, let's go up. Period, blah, blah, blah. Citizens, it just says of London. See title London. Civil law. Let me go back to see if I didn't miss. Okay, you got citation, city, and then it's just citizens. And it says of London. See title London. Okay, let me go to London. Like, what does that mean? L-M-N A-B-C-D-O-G-A-L law London. I wasn't expecting that. That real-time research. I'm so far off in the weeds. I'm supposed to be going through all this. We ain't even got on the Dred Scott case. At least I got an hour, so we fine. I got a little bit, quite a bit of time. So we're gonna get back to this Dred Scott case. But it's good to know a lot of this. London, okay, London. See, London, title London. London. Okay, let's see if we see the word citizen anywhere real quick. London go for several pages. What's this whole thing about London, man? And I'm not even seeing like word headings. And it stops there. Well, shit. Let me try another dictionary because I don't want to. I'm not trying to be taking forever to look it up. Just give me the definition. Let me go to a different one real quick. 1772, a new law dictionary. Let's see. If citizen is in here. Should look up all these terms to be honest, but we ain't finna do that now. I'll be all the way out. But that's how I like to do. I really do like to know what all things were said through different time frames, what changed, and then try to figure out what happened in between those times that possibly caused it to change. Besides trickery, usually trickery. CIT. Circuit, city, citizens. Okay. Now, this one does say some London shit, but it at least gives us something. It says, of London are either freemen or such as reside and keep a family in the city. See, this is why I'm glad I did it, man. Let me hold on, man. We're gonna keep reading it. But this is why the hell I'm glad I did it. Because 1860 does not say that. But it makes sense because in 1860s, they were doing all kind of trickery and changes, right? But it says, are either freemen or such as reside and keep a family in the city. Now that's basically congruent or in line with the normal definition in the normal dictionaries about this time, right? And it makes sense. And it says, and especially, and et cetera, or whatever. And some are citizens and freemen. And then that's the end of that definition. Then the other definition is, and some are not, who have not so great privileges as the others. I guess that's part of the same thing. And it says, the citizens of London may prescribe against a statute because their liberties are reinforced by statute. May prescribe against a statute because their liberties are reinforced by statute. So either way, we see here that citizen meant this. It never meant what they're saying now until a certain time, until they started saying, now we're going to get to an elector, what it says here. But again, this one here in 1860, now I'm going to have to look up what an elector is over there too. They're saying that a citizen is a person who was under the Constitution of the United States. Had nothing to do with the Constitution, the United States, any of that shit. Okay? Oh, why my ancestors said they be freemen on my mama's side. Yeah, a lot of people use that term to express the fact that they were free men. They were citizens. Citizens mean a corporation with civil freedoms. That's what we think. That's what they talk about today. But really, it just means a free man. My bad. It all up until around the 1860s, where everything, mid 1800s, where everything that changes. Made their change. Reconstruction really is. Everything is reconstructed around that time. Now, it all makes sense why everything happens that time. But, because I'm like, man, for real? Even this too? But, like, yeah. Even the Dred Scott Case was around this time that I'm going over. All this shit was happening, man. and I'm changing up all the definitions, book definitions. The word black changes. The definition changes around the mid 1800s. That's when they started adding in the African language in the dictionaries. But prior in the dictionaries, you don't get that. It's all happening around the same time. But under this, it says a citizen is a person who is under the Constitution of the United States by 1860. But prior to 1860, as we just seen, a citizen had nothing to do with the Constitution, had nothing to do with the United States, had nothing to do with anything except for being a free person residing in your area. And you got to think, that's what YT folks do, right? They come in and invert things, change the definitions of things, but it's the same word because it's going to confuse you, right? That's exactly what they do. They change the definition of the word black to mean something about Africans and this and that and whatever when it never did. It just meant a color, and it was an adjective sometimes used to describe a people of a melanated skin. But that doesn't mean that it was actually that particular color. It was just a way to describe besides brown. And then they come into the 1800s and they change it. It was like, well, no, it means an African race. So, like, this is what a citizen has always meant. And we saw it also in the normal dictionaries. But 1860s, you get this right here. Now, let's go to elector in here. And then we're going to go to elector in there. You know what? I already got elector pulled up. That I know. Oh, those are the new ones. My bad. Goodness, where's it at? It's like I know I got it. Really? Color, no, slavery, say, service. God damn it. Here we go. Goodness, goddamn gracious. All right, now let's look it up real quick in here and see what it was in 1797. And then we'll see the change up. We're looking for the E's. It's going to be in this one. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Elector. All right, man. We're doing some diving here this morning. Elections. Next page. Election. Oh, I must have passed the EJ. ELE. Elector. Okay, let me not go so fast. Okay, EIJKLEL. Election of ecclesiastical persons. Is this election? Election. I'm really looking for elector. I think this is election. Is when a man is left to his own free will to take or do one thing or another which he pleases. That may not be election. It says electio. I don't know. And if he be given several things, he is the first agent and ought to do the first act shall have the election, as if a person make a leave rendering rent or a garment. The lessee shall have the election. So they ain't elector, but it's something about election. And then when we go over here, we got election of a clerk, election of ecclesiastical persons. We might look at that. Let's keep going up. Election of a whatever, election of members of parliament. And then it stops. So they don't really have elector. But let me show you what it was over here real quick in this time. So an elector, it says government, one who has the right to make choice of public officers. One who has the right to vote. Now think about that. One who has the right to make choice of public officers. That's different from a citizen. Now technically it said a citizen has the right to vote in this. Did it say public officers? Let me see. Let me keep that up. Might have to go back to citizen over here. Let me just double check to make sure it didn't say public office. It did say they had the right to vote, but having the right to vote, like who you voting for. But I think it did say for all positions, and you can actually get in a position. But this is 1860 during this time. Citizen prior to that didn't have that phrase, that wording in there. Come on now. Bring it back up one more time. Okay, citizen, citation, citizen. One who is under the constitutional laws and has the right to vote for representatives in Congress and other public officers. Okay, it does say public officers and who is qualified. So I just wanted to double check that. But let's still look at this though. It says one who has the right to make choice of public officers. To make choice of public officers, the right to vote for representatives in Congress and other public officers. Remember, all words are important. The right to vote for representatives in Congress and other public offices, but they have the right to make choice of public officers. And it says one who has the right to vote. Still says the vote, though, after that. But that's a semicolon before it says that. So they could be two separate definitions. One who has the right to make a choice of public officers. And the reason why I'm getting to that is because what do they call, we're going to read this part, but what do they call the people who elect the president for real? Not the citizens, but the Electoral College. Get it? Yeah. They are the ones who, for whatever reason, has the right to make choice of public officers. And the reason why we was talking about this, because in the newspapers for the Dred Scott case, they said that the person was confounding the terms of citizen and elector, saying that a black person at that time, or an African, well, got to keep their language right, that an African at that time, not us, had no right to be a citizen. Because in a sense, I guess he was trying to say you can't vote, whatever, because he was trying to say with Africans or black people were already citizens. So all you're trying to say is some of them didn't have the right to vote, meaning they would be electors, but some did have the right to vote. So anyway, either way, it just makes sense. Well, let's read it. It says the qualifications of electors are generally the same as those required in the person to be elected. I was trying to find out what they meant by that. Like, okay, what's the qualifications of a person to be elected of a certain office? But that took me a minute. I couldn't find much. To this, however, there is one exception. A naturalized citizen may be an elector of president of the United States, although he could not constitutionally be elected to that office. So a person like an immigrant coming in naturalized, we need to look up what naturalization really means. Could at this time in 1862, according to their elector, I'm gonna try to see if I can find a law dictionary in between 1862 and 1797 to see, because 1797 didn't have the elector in there. But then you see this thing: electors of president, persons elected by the people, whose sole duty is to elect a president and vice president of the U.S. The Constitution provides the electors shall meet in their respective states and shall vote by ballot. And I remember reading the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. It starts talking. I read quite a bit of that, actually. It starts going into the rules on how you're supposed to vote and ballots and all this other stuff. But citizen is different from elected. But in 1860, they're conflating the two together, to be honest. In 1860, they're confounding the two, like old boy just said. Because both of them say that you can vote for public office. One says make choice of public officers and have the right to vote. The other one says you can vote for public office. So think about that. So just like we vote in the primary election or in the public election or whatever, but it don't count, they call it the popular vote. Yeah, the popular vote. So we have the right to vote. This is how I'm interpreting it. We have the right to vote for the public officers. They have the right to make the choice of said public officers through taking votes, which they do through their own voting process, right? Now, I could think to mean that this vote means the same as those other votes, but no, they also do votes too. They're also doing their voting thing too. My bad, let me look down here and see what you said. But doesn't it also say that if you say you came from Africa, then you aren't a citizen by default? Yeah. Now, not necessarily in the law dictionary. It says that in the Dred Scott case, which is what we're gonna get to. But and that's supposed to still be the case, because technically, what's up, Nikki? Good morning. Technically, they're right. I mean, unless the so-called birthright citizenship, which they say it don't, overturn it, then yeah, you would still be an immigrant of this land, and we're gonna get to it, because they even say in the case, they say a full-blooded African, which is pretty crazy. Said right, it was never amended. Exactly. Said right, big difference. Mo Baby said facts. Look up here. Wait, who chooses them? I think you got the answers on that. Electoral college. Yep. Just double check, make sure I didn't miss nobody there. So that's what that said. So when we get back to this, let's read kind of what that said, which I almost got to go pull it back up because Tony Aggressive. Didn't I download the whole newspaper clip? Oh man. I know how to find it fast. Dred Scott confounded. Let's see. That ain't the exact one, but let's see. Dred Scott must not be confounded with the Dred, a character in one of Harriet Beecher Stowe's novels. What? Fictions never having an existence. Huh? Hold on. Now, I'm going to tell y'all why that just got my whole attention. Let me just read this part real quick, because this was going to be a big part about this. It says, he said they, the Africans, had for more than a century been regarded as beings of an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. It says, Dred Scott must not be confounded with Dred, a character in one of Harriet Beecher Stowe's novels and who was purely fictitious, never having an existence. The reason why I'm gonna hit that is because there's several of these newspaper clippings that I got here that will tell you that this case was made up. Okay, the Dred Scott case was therefore made up in St. Louis in 1854 and found. It says right here. Hold on. The South, fearful of its repeal of the Missouri Compromise and the popular sovereignty doctrine, would not accomplish its purpose fully, determined to establish Mr. Calhoun's second principle by an interpretation of the Constitution which would cover every point. The Dred Scott case was therefore made up in St. Louis in 1854 and is found in the 19th Howard's United States Court under the same name, Scott versus Sanford. Fairness requires. Now, this one wasn't like as super concrete, but I'm going to show you some other ones. Hold up. Let's see. The president's argument in this letter is a full assurance that he intends to stand by the letter of his proclamation, and there is nothing left for those who oppose it but to make their opposition take a constitutional shape. This they can do in the courts. Let them make up their case as the Dred Scott case was made up and make their arguments. Now, they could be saying made up like they're just drawing up. It says, through the intervention of the lawyers, briefs, and the Supreme Court, and his decision will be binding upon those. Now, that's how I read that. But at the same time, if you go to one like this one right here, and this is more during that time. It says the slavery case now pending before the Supreme Court attracts the attention of the moment than anything for the moment more than anything in Congress. The case of Dred Scott versus Sanford is the case referred to. It was argued at the last term of the Supreme Court, and a decision was deferred, and the case ordered to be re-argued at this term. The case was generally considered at the late term as a made-up case. See what I'm saying? And made up by politicians with a view to obtain a decision on a prominent political question or prominent political questions about slavery. Because they try to say, I believe this Dred Scott case is what led to the Civil War. Like they needed something. But they also needed some language to go in about some Africans around this time too. And they needed a law, something on the books before they started doing the treaties and other things to where they had a law pointing to that a African can't be a citizen, and we're going to start calling all these folks African. That's what I'm getting to. And they made up a case. They possibly made a case up. And I think I got a few other in there, but y'all get what I'm getting to. So let's move towards. Let's just read this because I'm already over the place and I ain't got a whole lot of time left, and I don't want to. Let me just see what. Let's just read this, okay? Because I'm like, I really should be starting like at the beginning. We'll eventually get to the Dred Scott case itself, but we're going to be pulling it up. But okay. So the case of Dred Scott, opinions of the judges McLean and Curtis, meaning or dissenting, whatever, from the judges' judgment of the courts. It says Associate Judge McLean proceeded to express his views in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford. After stating the facts relative to the subject, he proceeded to say that the plea as to jurisdiction is radically defective. It says it has never been held necessary that to constitute a citizen, a man should have the qualifications of an elector. Now this is the beginning of that the one I was talking about. So it says right here, it has never been held necessary that to constitute a citizen, a man should have the qualifications of an elector. Now, I want you to realize something. This is 1857. We looked at the law book of 1860, 3 years later. That's why I wanted to find a law book in between, because according to these people, there were two distinct differences between this citizen and elector, okay? And although in 1860 the law book kind of has it kind of confounded, kind of put together, right? I want to go see what it was before. And we know the citizen was something different. I just want to see what an elector was. But okay. So it says that it has never been held necessary that to constitute a citizen, which is a free man, a man should have the qualification of an elector. So maybe let's just say the elector qualification is you got to own land or something, right? You can still, so that just because you don't own land don't mean you aren't a free inhabitant or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of saying that. But okay, let's keep going. Females and minors may sue in the federal courts, and so may an individual who has his domicile in the state in which he may sue. So they say, hey, in order to be able to sue, you just need to be a citizen. You don't need to be an elector. And even females and minors have the ability to sue in these courts. Why is that important? Because they said the whole reason why Dred Scott Case was overturned is because he was not a citizen. And they're trying to explain the difference between a citizen and an elector. It says the most general definition of a citizen is a free man. Ain't that what we said? Ain't that what we saw in the damn news, in the damn dictionaries going back in the 1700s? Didn't they change it afterwards? Right? The most general definition of a citizen is a freeman, not somebody under the corporation of a state that's a corporate body of blah, 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 this and that. Okay? And this was the public sentiment at the time. The public sentiment matches what was in the dictionaries. Okay? It says the plea, and also matches what was in the law dictionary of a citizen up until 1860. The plea does not show Dred Scott to be a slave. Notice how I highlighted that. The plea does not show Dred Scott to be to be a slave. Now, guess what? I highlighted this because two reasons. Well, I'm going to say this first. I highlighted this before I read the case. Let me show you where this is at. This is right here, right? I didn't read the case, the actual case, until here. Somewhere in, not that right here, this is the actual case with the handwriting, right? On one of these, I think it's, no, it's not. I didn't say, but it's that. But on one of these, we'll go through it. It's not going to be on one. It's going to be in the plea. This is the plea right here. And then you're going to have what the defendant says. So I just want to give it away, whatever. In his claim, Mr. Dred Scott says that he was deprived of, let me just say it because I will read it. He basically was suing for $3,000. They say he was suing for his freedom. He never said he was a slave. Okay? He came in here specifically saying, hey, this dude came up to me with his pew-pew on him, assaulted me, and imprisoned me and my wife and children for a time. And during that time, I was out of business. I couldn't go do my own business, which I had. And I am suing him for the lost wages, not wages, or the lost earnings of me and my business in the time that I was in his captivity. That's the basics of what he says. What the dude replies with, the defendant says, well, I did all this shit because he was my slave. Nobody ever said that he was his slave. No, Dred Scott never said I was a slave and I'm suing for my freedom. The whole idea that this is even a freedom case is because the white man lied and said I assaulted the man because he's my slave. That's what I want y'all to understand before we get, if we don't get into, hopefully we get into it. They don't tell you that. And as I was reading, as you can see right there, $3,000. He was suing for damages of $3,000. Okay? And I also want to show you, because he said that his children are his servants of great value. Servants, his children. And he's suing for the money that his child servants could have been working with him in his business. Yes, children can be labeled as slaves, right? Y'all don't understand how crazy I was going when I was reading this motherfucking case. Because this is law. This is basically precedent in a sense. Precedented law. And in here, it talks about his children. In his plea, it talks about his children being his servants of great value. And they help him, whatever. Lost wages in the line. Landowner, head of household. Yep. You said Uncle Tom's Cabin. I'm following. Oh, you talking to somebody up there? They mixed the story from Harriet Beecher. Yeah, see, that's why I had to. That's why I had to do that, because his wife's supposed name is Harriet. Now, it could be a real case, or is it made up? It's gonna be even if they made it up, they really still put. It's still, well, you know what? I'll tell you what's made up. This could be a real case. The way they're portraying it in the newspapers is made up. That's what I started to think, because I was going through it and I was like, well, it is kind of like what the case said, because at one point, some people try to say he was in slavery going back and forth, but he never did plead that. And I'm still there's a few other pages I got to read I read this whole thing, but of some other documents on the National Archive of Records. So I just want to triple check. But basically, like, Dred Scott never admitted to being any kind of slave. And that's why I believe in this newspaper clipping, they said it was never, the plea does not show, the plea from the plaintiff, I believe, does not show Dred Scott to be a slave. It's the defendant's, I guess that would be a plea too, but either way. But let's keep going. It says, it does not follow a man is not free whose ancestors were slaves. What they're saying, it doesn't make sense that a man is not free just because his ancestors were slaves. Because why? Just because you're a slave doesn't mean you're an African. These people who wrote this one was on their shit. Everybody else was on some bullshit throughout the newspapers. And that's typically what you'll find. The truth is not as loud as the lie. And you got to go search for the lie. For the truth. The lies are going to be all around you. But you got to go search for that truth. So it says, okay, it doesn't make sense that a free person whose ancestors were slaves. Notice how I say that, because he's a free person, not a slave now, right? Whose ancestors was not, or whatever. It says, it was said colored citizens are not agreeable members of society, but this is more a matter of taste than of law. So they're saying that these people are saying these people are not agreeable, but that don't mean it's law. That just means y'all niggas just don't like niggas, okay? All right, so we'll keep going. It says, several of the states have admitted such persons to the right of suffrage and recognized them as citizens. Okay, and I pointed back up to here where they started to say the qualifications of a citizen versus an elector. You can be a citizen. Many of these states had already been accepting these folks as citizens, or as what? Free people in the state, in the city that they abound. And a city is just a bunch of houses together. And this has been done. But you know what? When you look up city in the 1860s and after, I bet it means something like a municipality with government and blah, blah, blah. Right? Everything changes. And now you got to think. They changed all these words on purpose. I gotta look. I'm sorry. I gotta look. What did this city mean in a later dictionary? Let's look real quick. I need an 1860s dictionary. And in fact, city was in that one dictionary we was looking at, wasn't it? That law dictionary, city, citizen. This is 1862. Let's look citation. CIT. City. What did I say? Now, prior to this, let me get that. Blah. Well, I gotta get it with the date on it at the bottom. Otherwise, I won't know what I'm looking at. Now, before we saw a city is just a body of houses, right? Let me just make sure I got that screenshotted. Clergy, corporate, city. A large collection of houses and inhabitants, a town, corporate. And we looked up what corporate was, and it don't mean what we think it means, right? That has a bishop. A bishop is just a person elected by a bunch of people. Nothing crazy. The inhabitants of a city, right? It changes. Ain't that funny? Everything changes around this time frame. Now, this is a law dictionary. Now, I need to look up a regular dictionary. That wasn't a law dictionary. Let me look up a regular dictionary real quick. 1860 regular dictionary before I go crazy. 1860 or something around that time. Do I have one saved? 1797, 1828. Is that 1800 for real? It's 1828. And it ain't even in that. Let's just do English dictionary. Let's just do this. Dictionaries between 1880, 1876, whatever, and 1828. Let's just see what we got. All right. 1870, Malaysia, Greek, English dictionary. Sanskrit, English, Sanskrit. I just need a regular English dictionary. Latin, English to English. Why would you need an English to English dictionary? English dictionary, 1828. I already got that. We want to look later than that. Icelandic English dictionary. Indian and English dictionary. I remember I was going to look at that. Johnson English dictionary, 1830. 1876, a smaller Hindustani English dictionary. Like they said, there was Hindustani. Latin English dictionary. Come on now, really? Let me go just a little bit later than 1876. We're looking for, maybe forget what the hell word we're looking for. City. Okay. Let me get rid of the shit from the bottom. Taking up my damn. There we go. Damn, there's that many results? God damn. Okay. Bird Swedish English dictionary. I just need a English dictionary. Let me just put the word dictionary. God damn. Well, no, that's gonna be English dictionary, 1893. Okay, that's well afterwards, but whatever. This ain't no goddamn English dictionary. A New English Dictionary, 1886, I'm sorry. No, that's not it, man. What the hell? That's only 2 pages long. It shouldn't be that hard to get to a damn dictionary between this time frame. Irish to English, Sanskrit, really? A Middle English Dictionary, 1891. Doesn't matter that it's Middle English. It says 1891. It probably does matter if it's Middle English. I don't think Middle English was being spoken at that time. maybe this is just I feel like this was just re-released. Man, all right, I'm about to get over. We just about to read a damn. It shouldn't take this damn long to really just pull up a damn English dictionary. A new English dictionary on historical principles. English dictionary, 1896. Please be a dictionary. It looks like it is. All right, we got a dictionary, 1896. Okay, let's see if we can get to the city. All right, that didn't work. Okay. This is a pretty big one, so that's what's up. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. City. CIS. Citizen. We'll read that too. City right here. So in the regular dictionary, it says a city, state, a citizen, whence, a large town, okay, right here, a large town, a borough or town corporate, which is, so it's similar so far, which is or has been the seat of a bishop and of a cathedral church. They've added that. In the United States, any incorporated town governed. See how it's been added? What did I tell you? After the mid 1800s, you're gonna see changes. And now I know for sure everything I see changes. Now they've changed a city to mean in the United States, any incorporated town governed by a mayor or alderman. But before, it was a large town of people who just had a bishop. Okay? You see what I'm trying to get is they literally take the same word, add to it, and make you forget what it used to be called, confusing you. Now you be like, I don't want to be a citizen. Right? And I wish that dude was still back on here, Nefertiti, Neferu, whatever the fuck. We can't be citizens. An indigenous person is not a citizen. Yes, you are. You want to be a free man, okay? Just like they make everything else. Now we don't want to be it. You don't want to be an Indian. Some people don't want to be a JEW because they believe those other people are the JEWs, right? And they causing havoc under the name. They take the king whoever and pervert his name and pervert his look and whitewash shit. They do all of that. Now we're seeing the definitions. They took black and it meant something else, and they made it meant something completely different over here, right? It was them, it meant pale, it meant all that other stuff. They've changed that. That happened in the mid-1800s. All of that happened in the mid-1800s. The definition of black changing, all of that. The definition of Negro changing to start including African language, all of that happens in the 1800s. Mid-1800s. Okay? And that's crazy. Let me make sure I screenshot that. Now let's read citizen also real quick. Now we know a citizen just always meant a free man, right? It says here, let's go down. Okay, the presence of this, a native or inhabitant of a city, like it was before, a freeman of a city, inhabitant who enjoys the full municipal and political privileges of a town or country. I think that's kind of added a little bit. An inhabitant who enjoys the full municipal and political privileges of a town or country. Hold up. Let's compare. Yeah, it don't say none of that shit, right? A citizen says nothing about privileges and whatever of a municipality. What did it say? A person. I gotta get a screenshot before I forget. No. It won't go back either like that. I gotta fucking damn it. I gotta go back to it. My bad, y'all. I was just trying to screenshot. That's all your boy was trying to do. Let's see, this is amazing research right here, y'all. Like, to find these changes, these slight wording differences, pinpoint the time frames, to understand when and who did it, why they did it. They were changing it all because they needed to do this to get us out of our indigenous capacity. They needed to confuse us completely of the system we already had of being a citizen, which is, let me screenshot it, a free person. Hold on, I gotta do it one more time. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to go up a little bit so I can get that date. 1896 Law Dictionary, Normal Dictionary, changes it up. A native of a inhabitant of a city, whatever. And then they say an inhabitant who enjoys the full municipality and political privileges of a town or a city. Okay, so citizenship, the state of being vested with the rights and privileges of a citizen. Okay, so as we see, man, they damn sure done switched the shit up. And then I was gonna read another one here, whatnot, or was that pretty much? Yeah, I was gonna reading something about. I lost my train of thought on that. It was that law dictionary. I was in the law dictionary about to read something. I think I was about to read the citizen in a law dictionary at that time. This is 1862 law dictionary. Oh, I think we already did that. My bad. I kind of lost my train of thought. Felt like there was something else I was gonna do. It said privilege is not rights. And see, I gotta look up. Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, privileges are things given to you. Rights are things you already have, which makes sense. So yeah, like, let's get back to this newspaper clipping because I done lost my train of thought. I was trying to remember what the hell I was about to pivot to look up another definition. But let's just get back to the newspaper clip, which I, for some reason, don't see. Oh, how the hell did I miss that? All right, so let's finish off this because there's a lot of good things in here. So we just left off, it says, where several states have admitted such persons to the right of suffrage and recognized them as citizens, free people at the time of a city, which is not something governed by anybody. It's just people being people. Okay. It says, and this has been done in the slave as well as in free states. On the subject of citizenship, we have not been very fastidious, or whatever, fatudious, whatever this word is. Hold on. And then it says, under the treaty with Mexico, we have made citizens of all grades, combinations, and colors. So I didn't want to throw that in there. I just highlighted that because I was like, wait a minute, man, this is 1858. This is during slavery times, y'all. They literally talking about, hey, they brought in Mexicans. Where did Mexicans go? What they get classified as? Okay. Oh, okay, we'll just keep going from that one. But it says the same was done in the case. And let me just say this real quick. They didn't have a section on the census for a Mexican or a Spanish person until around the 1920s or 30s or so. This is 1858 talking about they've done treaties and put in people from Mexico from all kinds of colors, right? So what were those Mexicans being classified at between then and the 1930s? Just think about that, right? What were those Mexicans being classified as? We pretty much know. Fake Indians, Pueblos, Navajos, fake mofos, whatever. All right. It says the same was done in the cases of Louisiana and Florida. No one ever doubted, nor a court held, that the inhabitants did not become citizens under the treaties. Do y'all know how explosive that is? Let's read that again. On the subject of citizenship, we have not been very fastidious, if I'm saying that right. Under the treaty, like Indian treaties, right? With Mexico, we made citizens of all grades of colors of people. The same was done in the cases of the Louisiana and Florida. Dancing Rabbit Treaty. No one ever doubted, nor a court, that the inhabitants of Louisiana and Florida did not become citizens under the treaties. Reclassification. Citizens under the treaties. Article 14, Desert Rabbit Treaty says any Choctaw head of household being desirous to remain and become a citizen of the United States can do so by signifying their... It's crazy how I know so much of this shit sometimes verbatim. Signifying their wanting this to, whatever the word is, to do so to the Indian agent in 60 days of the ratification of the treaty. They became citizens, just like some so-called Mexicans did. That's why that's so crazy right there. They have become citizens without being naturalized. Who else can become a citizen who isn't naturalized? What is naturalized? Let's look that up to make sure. Let's look it up in the dictionary of 1797 first, right? Because these niggas be bullshitting, right? This right here literally is proving like the Indian, Choctaws, all Indian treaties, Creek treaties, all of them became citizens, even though the treaty already said it. You know, I mean, the treaty pretty much, you know, is the nail on the collar, whatever. But what am I looking for? Naturalized. K A B C G H I J K L M N. So that's the P, L M N O P, and where's the N O? N-A-T, no, that's Navy. N-A-T, N-A-T, N-A. Now, this is a law dictionary. It should be in there, you would think. N-A-T, nativity, but not naturalized. Nativist, natural, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Naturalization. C, title, alien. Okay? So, I mean, we kind of already getting the idea of what naturalization has to do, right? So, it's an alien. And I don't have it. Well, I would like to go further. Let's look at it in another one, too. I would like to look at it in the more current law dictionary right here of 1862. Let's go. Even though we didn't really see it, this just says see alien. I'd have to pull up alien, but excuse me, 1892. No, naturalized. What am I looking for? Naturalized. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, this is one part. Damn, I'm gonna have to pull it up. I already got so much shit up. You ever just have so much shit up you don't want to pull nothing else up, man? Hold on, man. Let me do, since I'm in here too. Look it up in here. Natural, LMNO. in any nativity, naturalization. So in the old dictionary from this is 1896, so this should be the possibly changed definition, right? An act of naturalizing or investing in alien with the rights and privileges of a native citizen. Okay. Now, a native citizen should technically be a native free person, so you can be naturalized or whatever. But the people, we'll just get back to this. The people in those treaties, like us, we became citizens without being naturalized of all different. And notice they said of all different colors, and they said the same. Under the treaty with Mexico, we made citizens of all grades and combinations of colors. The same of colors and grades of combination was done with those cases in Florida and whatever. No one ever doubted that the court held the inhabitants. Because y'all was going to say, why do you think they even mention this when we're talking about a black man? When we're talking about a so-called black man. They say, hey, with the treaties of Louisiana, Florida, all them niggas, we had all kind of colors. Okay? Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Because the 1866 treaties, this is 1850 something. What is it? 1857. The 1866 treaties and all those languages that talked about Africans and shit didn't happen until 1866. That's not in their mind. So the people who of color they're talking about in that area, who are they? You know? But okay. That was one of my most favorite articles out of this whole thing that I found since I've been on this. Now, let's read some of the case. I'm going to read this to y'all. Because, again, he didn't sue because he wanted his freedom. Let's see what he sued for. My bad, I didn't get that page 7. I should go back to get the top of it page. But anyway, it says the plaintiff lost and was deprived of society. Let me just make sure. Let me make sure I ain't missing something from page 7 or something, man. I hate to be not saying something. Page 7, and luckily they got the transcription, and I kind of double checked it with the skim through the the actual Okay, yeah. Let me screenshot that. I guess I didn't get this. I don't know if it's because I be hitting the screenshot button and don't be noticing whether I'm actually hitting it fully or not, man. I be missing a lot of damn screenshots. All right, so let's go. What was Dred Scott suing for? It said Dred Scott of St. Louis, in the state of Missouri, and a citizen of the state of Missouri complains of John F.A. Sanford of the city of New York and a citizen of the state of New York. So notice that they're in different states, whatever, in a plea of trespass for the defendant heretofore. So yeah, we'll get to it, whatever. Heretofore to wit, on the first day of January, whatever, 1853, at St. Louis, in the county of St. Louis, and the plaintiff, in state of Missouri, with force and arms. Hold on, let me read that again. Okay, it says, on the first day of January, A.D. 1853, at St. Louis, in the county of St. Louis and state of Missouri, with force and arms assaulted the plaintiff, and without law or right held him a slave and imprisoned him for the space of 6 hours. You get that? Y'all hear that? For 6 hours. Okay, we're going to keep going. And there did threaten to beat the plaintiff and to hold him imprisoned and restrained of his liberty so that by means of such threats, the plaintiff was put in fear and could not attend to his business, and thereby great gain and profits which he and otherwise would have made my bad and otherwise would have made might have made. And I think they did that twice when they trended. That's why I was like, y'all got me over here thinking I'm tripping. Whoever typed this, fuck that up. But anyways, and otherwise would have made might have in the prosecution of his business, to wit, $2,500 and other earnings. I think it's supposed to be, it says earrings, to the plaintiff. Then and there did against the peace and the damage of the plaintiff $3,000. And also for that, the defendant heretofore on the first day, January 80, 1853, with force and arms at St. Louis aforesaid in assault did make on Harriet Scott, then and still the wife of plaintiff, and then and there did imprison and said Harriet and hold her as a slave without law or right for the space of 6 hours. Now, it's really saying slave, but it's really more of a kidnapping, if you don't understand it. I'm about to go do my 12 o'clock, and then I'll come back and grab them. For the span of 6 hours, and did threaten to beat and said Harriet and hold her as a slave, as that by means of the premises said Harriet was put in great fear and pain and could not and did not attend to the plaintiff's business, and the plaintiff lost and was deprived of the society, comfort, and assistance of his said wife, and thereby lost great gains and profits of the value. So you think about what they're saying right now. They're making the case that this man assaulted them all at the same time. And had them held up as if he was about to imprison them or something, and only had them in there for some hours. But he's getting their ass for some money. Like, this is the lawyers coming up with a reason to get money out of this assault, in a sense. Think about it. They're saying, hey man, this dude assaulted us, and I want something done about this. And then he held us there for some hours. And the lawyer's like, well, we can get something out of that. Yeah, for that 6 hours, you could have been working. Yeah, you, your wife, and your kids could have been working, man. You need some of that bread. That's exactly what's kind of going on here. And as we're reading this, it starts to make more sense why they dismissed the case for jurisdiction. They needed a way to dismiss this case. Along with, they wanted to add in that African language. But they wanted a way to dismiss this case to make it seem like you can't even sue nobody because you ain't even a citizen. But technically, you could be a free person of the inhabitant of the land as long as he was an Indian and not a naturalized person. You know, he could have been a citizen. Likely was not an African. But at the same time, I forgot what I was going to say. So let me keep fucking reading. And also for the defendant, heretofore to wit on the first day of January 80, 1853, with force of arms at the St. Louis aforesaid, made an assault on Eliza Scott and Lizzie Scott, then and still infant daughters and servants of the plaintiff. Servants of the plaintiff. Servants of the dad. Slaves of the father. I'm going to just throw that out there multiple ways. You know what I'm saying? classified, right, on a census record possibly, as a slave, but not being a slave. And what you think of today? Because slave did not mean that. Slave meant something else before this 1860 switch up, right? Before the mid 1800s switch up. It sure did. Now, it mostly would say that you're still under a master. Their dad would be their master. Okay? But okay, he was deprived of them from a space long ago. Because they was in prison and held as slaves for 6 hours. 6 hours. Not forever. And then there was a different whatever. That's why when he says, when they say in this paper that the plea does not follow or show that Dred Scott to be a slave, is because he never said he was a slave. He said he was enslaved for 6 hours, basically held captive for 6 hours. Him and his wife and his his kids. Let's keep going to that next page. And it said, hold on to get what it says ended off. It says, could not and did not attend to the plaintiff's business as otherwise they might have and would have done, and the plaintiff thereby lost comfort, society, service, and assistance of his said children and servants of great value, to wit, $2,500. And other wrongs to the plaintiff and defendant then and there. And that's a lot of money back then. Think about it. $2,500, 1856. I don't even want to look. I'm going to look at what that was. Hold up. I'm going to have to get off here in a second, though. How much was $2,500 in 1856? $2,500 was worth over $100,000. Now that's part of it. He was suing for $3,000, so he was trying to get this man for 6 figures of that money at that time. Okay. He says, in other words, the plaintiff in account of the aforesaid grievances brings suit by his attorney. He had enough money to get an attorney, because you got to ask, why would a slave? How did a slave get enough money to get an attorney? Now, when I come back later, if you follow me later on, I'm going to come back here. I got to go do this 12 o'clock. I will go into you know what? I'm going to listen to it again so I don't have to have y'all listen to the whole thing. But I'm going to listen to it while I'm out here. But they ask these questions. How do you think Mr. Dred Scott was able to afford a lawyer and being a slave? How was he making the wages? Well, you know, he was such good friends with these YT folks, and they really invested in it, blah, blah, blah. Like, these people were just coming up with anything. I was like, where did y'all read this, man? I've been reading all kind of shit, okay? I've been reading everything, and I ain't read a piece of what these niggas said, okay? Shit be pissing me off. I'm like, man, where do y'all pay these niggas, man? Pay me, goddammit. Pay me so I can do this full time, goddammit, because these motherfuckers ain't doing a goddamn thing. But anyway, they doing what they supposed to do. They getting paid to spread the propaganda they supposed to spread. Y'all know that's what it is. 3 bands for 6 hours. Hell yes. Nigga done assaulted me and my family. Nigga, I need 100,000. Because that's what it's worth. It's worth about $100,000. Let's see. You are hereby commanded by the summons, Sanford, a citizen of New York, that he be and appear before the Honorable Circuit Court of the United States, the District of Missouri, in the next term thereof, to be held at the city of St. Louis, in and for the said district on the first Monday of April next, and to answer unto Dred Scott, a citizen of the state of Missouri, in a plea of a trespass or whatever. Okay, so they basically saying he has to answer to this. He's gonna the dude's gonna answer to this. Like, let's just say this. George A. Sanford, in his own proper person, comes and says to the court, ought not or take further cognizance of the actions aforesaid, because he says that said action, said cause of action, and each of every of them, if any such, have accrued to the said Dred Scott, out of the jurisdiction of the court and exclusively within the jurisdiction of the state of Missouri, was alleged the declaration because he is a Negro of African descent. Okay, notice how they throw that in there. His ancestors were pure African blood. Notice how they threw that bitch in there. And were brought into this country. Now, Dred Scott didn't say this. Somebody, Sanford, is saying this. The nigga he's suing is saying this. Dred Scott didn't say none of this. Okay? Negroes as slaves. And that this said Sanford is ready to verify, wherefore he prays judgment whether this court can or will take further cognizance of the action aforesaid. John A. Sanford, or whatever, F.A. Sanford, defendant in the above case, makes the oath and says that the plea hereunto annexed is true in substance and in fact. Sworn in, subscribed before, whatever. Let's go down here. Continued and held, whatever. The proceedings, whatever. This day, the plaintiff, by his attorney, and files a demurrer to the plea of the defendant. Okay, so he's filing it. Now they're about to say what his thing is. His in margin, demurrer to plea. And now comes the plaintiff and demurs in law to the plea of the defendant to the jurisdiction of the court, and says that the said plea and the matters therein contained are not sufficient in law to preclude the court of its jurisdiction of the case, and that the plaintiff is not bound by law to reply to said plea, wherefore the plaintiff prays judgment of said plea, and therefore the defendant of the plaintiff of said action. Where is it at? Where's your damn plea at? The plea law arises when the mirror afterwards it's a court. The attorney comes to party with the mirror saying the same thing. Afterwards, come on now, where is it at? Injury said, laid the charge, complained against him, put himself on the country. The further plea said Dred Scott is the crazy mention, imprisoning him, keeping. I think this is it right here. Okay. And the said John F. Sanford, whatever, and Garland, his attorney, comes and defends the airing of the injury and says that he is not guilty of the said supposed trespasses above laid to his charge or any part thereof in manner of in form as the said Dred Scott hath above thereof complained against him, and of this he, the said Sanford, putteth himself upon the country, and for a further plea in the behalf as to the making and the said assault upon the Dred Scott in the first count of the said declaration mentioned, and imprisoning him, slave, he says slave, but it was imprisoning him, right? And keeping and detaining him in prison, right? He says Sanford for 6 hours, right? He says Sanford, by leave of the court first obtained, says that the said Dred Scott ought not have maintained aforesaid action against him, because he says before and at that time when he in the foresaid first count mentioned the said Dred Scott was a Negro slave, the lawful property of the defendant, and as such slave he gently laid his hands upon and only restrained him of such liberty as he had a right to do, and this was said Sanford is ready to verify. Wherefore he prays judgment, wherefore he says to have maintained aforesaid whatever. He says that basically about the same thing. He could come down here and say Dred Scott ought not have maintained aforesaid before whatever in the second, third accounts mentioned the said Harriet wife and said Scott and Eliza and Lizzie his daughter His daughters were the lawful slaves of the said Sanford, and such slaves gently laid his hands upon them and restrained them of the liberty as he had a right to do, as he was ready to verify whatever. So what I want y'all to get to, what I want y'all to know, because I'm going to have to get up out of here. What up? I knew they lied about the Dred Scott. What up, Mike P? They damn sure did. They took him and his wife and his land business. So, the main thing is it goes from Dred Scott saying what he said, basically saying this white dude from New York, okay, whereas he was in Missouri, and we're gonna double check when I come back, man. We're gonna really dive deep into this. So it's like, how can you claim to be my slave master when, nigga, you ain't even in the same state and you a New York resident at that? Unless he met them at the so-called military base when they were there. But Dred Scott doesn't say nothing about building in no military base. He just said he met this dude. This dude assaulted him, put his hands on him and his wife and his children, and act like he was gonna, almost like, think about it like this. You know, back in them days, they had people who was trying to kidnap us and put us in certain slavery positions. In fact, I have a whole thing, which I'd have to find, where they were talking about people going out there looking for people, and man, I know where it said, but yeah, it's under this slavery propaganda right here. This right here, and it talks about how some of these people would sometimes end up kidnapped under these rebel, like, you know, what do you call those people? Bounty hunter like folks. And these people are out here overly prosecuting, or not prosecuting, overly policing folks. And then on top of that, I got newspaper clippings like this one for this dude. He said he was Alabama, came from Alabama, from Virginia to Alabama, just moved there or whatever, and he had his freedom papers from Virginia, but he didn't have none from Alabama, so they snatched him up and put him in prison, and basically was waiting for somebody to come pay his jail fees. Otherwise, they was going to sell him as a slave for life. So when you think about it, this sounds like a situation like that. A motherfucker tried to come through from New York or wherever he was from, and tried to get him and his whole family. You know what I'm saying? Had him set up or whatever, this and that and the third, and the next thing you know, he gets free for however he gets out that situation. And then next thing you know, he's like, nigga, I'm about to sue your bitch ass. I'm about to sue. No, I'm a free nigga, and I'm about to sue your whole ass. And the way that he's trying to get the white dude is basically making an excuse. Well, he can't sue me because he's technically a Negro slave. Yeah, he was my slave. Yeah. So I just gently put my hands on him a little something, you know, him being my slave and all. Just lying, because he never said he was a slave. He said he had him held as a slave for 6 hours. And he probably said that because he probably told the dude, John probably told him, I'm about to sell your ass like a slave, or make you a slave, or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? So, look, man, they don't want me going over these motherfucking documents, man. We gonna bust up all they bullshit ass history. All right? I'm gonna have to get up out of here, y'all, man. I got some work to go do. What up, Akila? Appreciate everybody being up in here, man, getting the game. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. I will come back, because we ain't even really got into all this, man. I ain't even read to y'all all of these newspaper clippings I got. We ain't even went through the little video clippings. We haven't heard what these folks and try to see their lives. We've done quite a bit of reading, but yeah, we haven't, yeah, because even this is stuff about it too. We haven't even, I got a lot to say about this, man. So yeah, I'm gonna holler back at y'all. Mike P, you say, like, Sam, do you have the minutes of the Dred Scott arguments? That's what we were just reading. This is the exact, and it's handwritten and shit. But if you go to the National Archive and type that in, it'll be the first one to pop up. When was the Harrison law passed? Harrison's law for selling and whipping YT folks. I think it was something like around the 1820s, 18 teens, somewhere around that. I think it was somewhere around there. if you type in Harris's Law, selling and whipping white folks, you have to type that whole thing, otherwise it won't pull up. Harris's Law for selling and whipping white people, it'll pull right up. A government site pulls right up. Under that, which is a funny thing, under that phrase. But I appreciate y'all being here, man. I'm going to come back later and get at y'all.